Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel, where I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. And today I have something special. I have a sort of a special guest in the not really a studio with me tonight. And the special guest is Germany, like the as in the country, die Deutsche Fremdschämen-Bundesrepublik. You see, Der Spiegel did me a great favor. For the longest time, I've had to try to explain to non-German speakers who are unfamiliar with the country just exactly how fucked up the discourse, particularly around things like anti-Semitism, Zionism, Palestine, and stuff like that is in Germany. But Der Spiegel Online did me a great favor in publishing this article, which is just truly emblematic of all of it in English. And we're gonna just look at it. It's long as fuck. I'm gonna drop the link in chat so that you can read the whole thing if you want to subject yourself to it. But I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. I'm gonna just look at a few lowlights. You see, for the past few weeks, respectable opinion in Germany has been losing its shit because Greta Thunberg, the climate activist, she's made some statements in favor of Palestinian rights and against the ongoing genocide and stuff. And this seems to have passed more or less unnoticed in the rest of the world. Like, I haven't seen it discussed in English at all for the most part. Like, literally the only place where this, where to my knowledge, this got any discussion at all, is Germany. It didn't even happen in Germany. She was in Amsterdam at the time. But Germany has been losing its shit over this. And so I give you, has Greta Thunberg, an idol loses her way. Has Greta Thunberg betrayed the climate movement? This is long. It is written, I think there are like 6 different bylines on this. It is 5,000 words long. We're not going through the whole thing. But I do, it gives you, it just gives you so much insight into just how fucked up and cringe the discourse is in Germany. And so we're going to just have a little close reading of some important bits. Let me see, I'm going to just adjust this. I need to be able to see chat better. Does that screw up the legibility? No. So, is Greta Thunberg anti-Semitic or just incredibly naive? The article asks. No, it's leaving all the possibilities open. Like, because those are the 2 reasons you could possibly support Palestinian rights. Is if you're anti-Semitic or you're incredibly naive. Her comments in Amsterdam last weekend left little doubt as to where she stands on the Middle East conflict. So maybe it's just, just Der Spiegel, warte mal kurz. Also ich hätte mal einen Gedanken, könnte es vielleicht sein, could it possibly be that it isn't that she's anti-Semitic and it isn't that she's naive, it's that she looks at a fucking crime against humanity and says, yeah, that shouldn't be happening. The iconic activist actions now threaten to divide the climate movement and the left. You see, this is, okay, here's all the people who are involved in writing this crime against journalism. Susanne Bayer, Max Hoppenstedt, Timo Lehmann, Dialika Neufeld, Jan Petter, und Tobias Rapp. Yeah, that's who wrote this thing. I just want to give them their shame of place. So here we go. Here's how she divided the left. Okay. It was last Sunday in Amsterdam that the world's view, the note, of Greta Thunberg suddenly shifted. She was bundled up against the November chill, wearing a grey quilted jacket, I don't know why we need to know about the fact that she was dressed appropriately for the weather. As she stood on stage in front of a vast crowd, her hair fell loosely over her shoulders. Also, again, important information. Thank you, Das Spiegel Online. I am so glad that you paid 6 different people to let me know about her hair. Event organizers estimate that 85,000 people turned out, making it perhaps the largest climate demonstration in the history of the Netherlands. But Thunberg, as shown by the black and white Palestinian keffiyeh, misspelt, wrapped around her neck, had something else on her mind. As a climate justice movement, quote, "We have to listen to the voices of those who are being oppressed and those who are fighting for freedom and justice." End quote. And you see, this is where she's dividing the left, because as we're going to hear, Germany wants us to just know that you should never listen to the voices of those who are being oppressed, and certainly not those who are fighting for freedom and justice. The reference, they tell us, was to the Palestinians. A woman who was standing on stage with her, also wearing the Palestinian keffiyeh, claimed that Israel was perpetrating, quote, "genocide in my country," end quote. Greta Thunberg did not contradict her. Wow. I mean, Jesus. She didn't. There was a Palestinian who was talking about what Israel, and I should note, Germany is directly complicit. They specifically authorized the use of the weapons they sent to Israel in this genocide. And she described it in agreement with large numbers of scholars on genocide and international law as a genocide. And Greta Thunberg did not contradict her. Thunberg has changed since the summer of 2018, when she became famous. She is no longer a girl. Wow. A human being subject to passing of time, film at 11, and she no longer seems shy or hesitant in the spotlight. Rather, she looks like a self-confident 20-year-old woman. And just, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but one of the things that's really going to come in quite a lot is that, see, the idea is they're going to be pathologizing the fact that she supports Palestinian rights. And so just keep that in mind. Back when... Okay, we have a quote from climate activist Ingmar Rentzhoek. She seemed like the loneliest girl in the world. Back when she rocketed to global prominence, she was just 15 years old and often wore her hair in 2 braided pigtails, making her look even younger. I mean, again, with the relevant information here. 6 fucking journos they paid to write this. 5,000 words. She first attracted attention by sitting in front of Parliament House in Stockholm, holding a sign made of scrap lumber on which she had scrawled in black, "Skolstrejk för klimatet," or "School strike for the climate." She seemed like the loneliest girl in the world, says climate activist and businessman Ingmar Rentzhoek. As if she had the weight of the entire world on her shoulders. Rentzhoek is the one who made the photo that turned Thunberg into a household name. That summer was hot and dry. Okay. She was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, but she hadn't killed enough people, so she didn't get it. She met with the Pope, someone who did kill enough people. Former U.S. President Barack Obama definitely killed plenty of people. Hollywood star Leonardo DiCaprio, she was already too old for him. And with Angela Merkel, the most powerful woman in the world at the time. Everyone, it seemed, wanted to be seen with her. Yes, because they all wanted to pretend to be able to be doing something about the climate, despite the fact that none of those motherfuckers are. There were, of course, plenty of people who weren't Thunberg fans. She was, after all, discussing uncomfortable truths. This is called foreshadowing. and demanding that politicians take more decisive action to slow climate change. She was also challenging older generations to change their climate-damaging lifestyles. But she was right, and she had science on her side, findings that she cited herself. More than 26,000 scientists in the German-speaking world, the only part of the world that really counts, have confirmed that our cause is just, reads a statement on the website of the German chapter of Fridays for Future. All that, though, was before Greta Thunberg's appearance last Sunday. What happens now? Back in Amsterdam, uneasiness began spreading among the audience during Thunberg's speak. Arjan Dam of the Netherlands described the situation to Der Spiegel a day after the event, which some people, says Dam, began leaving the demonstration. When Greta Thunberg or other leading activists constantly speak out about the Palestinian question. Ooh, interesting use of language right there. I would see personally, I would, in the midst of an ongoing genocide, maybe try to avoid ethnic group plus question. Just saying. It creates disunity. Dom says, I felt like I was being taken advantage of, as did many other participants. Why? Like, did she take your fucking money? At some point, he could no longer stand it, and he climbed up onto the stage. Yeah, how dare she be speaking out against genocide and stuff? Like, nobody tried to stop him. He grabbed for the microphone and tried to speak into it, but she refused to let go, resulting in a brief tug-of-war. At some point, Dam was able to speak into the microphone. I came here for a climate demonstration. Not a political view. Yeah, what the fuck does politics have to do with the climate? Some in the audience booed, and other activists on stage pulled him away. Thunberg smiled, a strangely condescending smile. Motherfucker, this guy, this Dam guy, who is not being done a favor by being named in this article. This is not his, like, fucking... I don't want to think that this is, like, his the highlight of his life. But when somebody acts like politics and the climate have nothing to do with each other, yeah, I mean, that is totally Wonka meme material. That is some Gene Wilder looking like shit right there. Because, I mean, it's like trivial. Like, I mean, we talk about, like, the effect of flying on the climate. Motherfucker, if you watch the Al Jazeera Arabic live feed in Gaza, the fucking jet engines are whining constantly. It's not like on and off, it is constant. Like, you want to say that has nothing to do with the climate? Like, this genocide is not climate friendly. Genocide, She pulled the microphone back and called after Dam, calm down, calm down, calm down. It sounded like an order. Or was it a request? Calls for others to calm down usually come from a position of superiority. Yeah, calls for trying to rip the microphone out of somebody's hand and telling them to shut the fuck up about something that matters to them. Yeah, that often comes from a position of superiority too. I think you'll find 6 authors whose names I've already forgotten. It was a brief scuffle between young and old, between a woman and a man. Yeah. She was just letting her young female privilege show by telling this guy who, like, physically tried to grab her microphone and shut her up to calm down. Greta won on Sunday for the time being. For the time being. This is building up to something, I promise you. Soon after Dam was ushered off the stage, she joined in with chants of no climate justice on occupied land. And soon she was back in control of the stage and of the crowd. I don't know, Der Spiegel. She joined in with the chants. In other words, it seems like this guy who you've decided to highlight his absolute, like, shitty cringe take, and it doesn't sound like he was necessarily representative of the mood of the people there. if she was joining in those chants, it sounds like maybe that's just sort of the way people feel. I mean, and this shouldn't be actually surprising because the overwhelming majority of the world is looking at this shit and is just utterly aghast and outraged and feels like powerless to do anything and is trying to come up with some way to stop it. She showed the world where she stands on the middle. She had managed to defend herself, but at what cost? Yeah, but at what cost? She showed the world where she stands on the Middle East conflict and demonstrated her approach to Israel, cold and distanced. Serious and justified criticism. Oh, okay, Der Spiegel. They're going to point out that actually what she said is on very solid ground, and like pretty much everybody who isn't directly complicit in the mass murder in Gaza is more or less in agreement with what she said. A few days after the incident, it can no longer be said that Greta Thunberg is the clear victor of the mini conflict on the stage in Amsterdam. She now finds herself on the business end of serious, justified criticism and dismay, particularly in Germany. Many are left with the feeling that the admiration they once had for Thunberg was mistaken. Particularly as doing a lot of work here. Because, like, literally, I have not seen anyone else talking about this. People are losing their shit about it in Germany. And, like, everywhere else, nobody seems to have noticed it. Because it is a totally unremarkable take. It's not the first time she has used the climate movement to throw her support behind the Palestinians. Wait a second, you just got done saying that this is the first time she ever said where she stood on the subject. Now you're saying this is normal? So this is just something she's already done? So maybe this prick who we're supposed to sympathize with as he grabs the microphone, storms the stage and grabs the microphone out of the hands of a young woman to shout her down. Maybe he specifically came to this protest for this purpose. In fact, it has been something of a recurring pattern. So, again, where's the shock? For example, in a message posted to the social media platform Twitter, I am not going to call it X, fuck Elon Musk, she demanded solidarity for the Palestinians in Gaza without mentioning the Israeli victims of the Hamas terrorist attack at all. Indeed, okay. Wait a second. Indeed, since the orgy of violence, it's an orgy of violence. The 7th of October is an orgy of violence. We have yet to see any words like that used, any words at all used to describe what the U.S. and Israel and Germany are doing to Gaza. She has never expressed sympathy for the Jews murdered and molested. See, that there's every respectable fucking media outlet has retracted that because nobody ever came up with any substantiation of it. But it's Germany. Different rules apply. She has never expressed sympathy for the Jews murdered and molested by Hamas of her own accord, which is another way of saying yes, she fucking has. She has only said anything about the victims when pressured to do so, and even in such instances she has been evasive. Citation needed. Okay, Thunberg has shown no solidarity with Jews, despite the... Okay, this is just anti-Semitic here. They're, like, equating Israel and Zionism with Jews. Despite the fact that Hamas, has made no secret of their desire to annihilate Jewish life, which actually they don't express that desire. In fact, since 2008, they've been offering to come to terms with Israel on the basis of the 1967 borders, and Israel responds with a massacre every time they make a peace offer. They actually changed their charter because they got sick of people using that for propaganda when they had abandoned it in practice years ago. But that's back in 2017. I mean, maybe the news hasn't made it to Germany. Despite the fact that anti-Semitism around the world has swelled, which is a link for some reason, since the attack, despite the fact that Israeli flags are being burned. I wonder why. Jewish children are. You see, it's interesting. Okay, we have Israeli flags are being burned, and then we just say Jewish children are afraid to go to school and Jewish adults are seeking to avoid being recognized as Jews on the streets. Not any descriptions of concrete incidents, mind. It's not that there aren't any, but it's just sort of interesting. And of course, the idea is that the only Jewish children and Jewish adults in the world are people who support the fucking carnage in Gaza. You know, because this is Germany, and in Germany in particular, you are not allowed to acknowledge that there are other Jews. You're only a Jew for Germany. Well, if you support, the German government's policy towards getting rid of Palestinians. But Thunberg does feel empathy for the Palestinians. I wonder why. I mean, why would anyone feel empathy for, just because they're being wiped off the face of the earth by a nuclear armed genocidal enemy with the backing of the deadliest imperialist power the world has ever seen? I mean, why would you feel any sympathy for that? And that's not wrong. Oh, good. We're gonna finally get into why somebody would feel empathy for the Palestinians. For decades, Palestinians have had little control over their own destiny, and in the war that Israel is now waging in reaction to the Hamas attack, civilians are suffering and dying. I wonder if there are any figures on how many. I mean, we had such graphic descriptions of an orgy of violence when it was the Palestinians allegedly doing it, but now it's just the war that Israel is now waging in reaction to the Hamas attack. Civilians are suffering and dying. Like, those who like Thunberg gloss over the suffering of the... Okay, we're gonna skip over that, but it's just a lie anyway. Does this mean that Greta Thunberg, by espousing a view that is overwhelmingly shared by the climate movement, has betrayed the climate movement and taken on the role of propagandist? Do these people not know what a propagandist is? I mean, like, literally, obviously, what she was doing was propaganda work to begin with. You didn't have a problem with that. Volker Beck. Now, he's a wonderful guy. He blocked me on Twitter. He thinks Holocaust denial is cool. He does not like Jews very much, but he fucking loves Israel. And he also thinks the age of consent is way too high. Yeah, he's a creepy piece of shit. But he loves Israel, and he's the head of an Israeli lobby group and propaganda group in Germany. And so, of course, he gets quoted. He's not Jewish, if anyone was wondering. Like, basically none of the people who are quoted in this are. Volker Beck, president of the German-Israeli Society, says that her appearance in Amsterdam marks the end of Greta Thunberg as a climate activist. Because, of course, I mean, we were all wondering. We all decide on who is a climate activist and who is not based on the opinions of Volker Beck. In a post on the social media platform Twitter, he wrote that she is from now on a full-time Israel hater. How the fuck does he know what her fucking schedule looks like? The Israeli embassy in Berlin also took to the Twitter platform, writing that it is, quote, sad how Greta Thunberg has used the climate stage for her own purposes, end quote. I don't know. I mean, I think it's sad how you motherfuckers are committing genocide, but I guess we have different priorities in life. The post continued in English, bad English I should add, no stage for anti-Semites. Josef Schuster, president of the Central Council of Jews in Germany, which represents sort of, it is the organization that sort of represents the German state in the Jewish community. It is always extremely loyal to whatever the official German line on things like Palestine are. You basically would not get anywhere in there without that, because they are an organization that mostly exists to represent the state amongst Jews rather than representing Jews to the state. I believe there is no doubt that she is very, very naive. Anti-Semitism is always an extremely serious accusation. Not in Germany. It is never a very serious accusation in Germany. In Germany, people just fucking throw it around like chimps throwing shite. But what I've seen, I'm very close to making that accusation. Ooh. I need some of that, like, Western showdown music. And Green Party co-leader Ricarda Lang, a woman leading the political party that is closer to Friday for Future movement than any other in Germany, except maybe the Linkspartei. I mean, like, the Green Party, they have green in the name. That is why they're so close. That is the basis on which they're supposedly close to the climate movement. She was likewise clear about her views of Thunberg's appearance in Amsterdam. Completely obscene. Germany's political royalty is firmly on the side of Israel. Yeah, no shit. Ever since they had to choose exactly how they would pretend to denazify after they had renazified the country in 1949, what the German political class decided to go with was sending weapons to Israel and just being gung-ho Zionists as a substitute for doing anything for Jews, as a substitute of doing anything about anti-Semitism in the country, and for doing anything for Jews. And the result is this fucking article, basically. Olaf Scholz, who's a big fan of torture, like Angela Merkel before him, has repeatedly said that Israeli security is an important element of Germany's raison d'etat. Yeah, I mean, because it's very profitable for the German arms industry. Vice Chancellor Robert Habeck of the Green Party produced a powerful video in which he urged his fellow citizens to shun anti-Semitism in all its forms, except for state anti-Semitism, which is rampant in Germany, noting that Germany has a special responsibility to the profits of the arms industry. The establishment of the country of Israel after the Holocaust, Habeck noted, was a promise of security for Jews. No, it fucking wasn't. It's like literally every time Israel is in the headlines, it's because it's doing some shit that it's doing some fucked up shit that it claims to be doing in all our names, and it does not make us any fucking safer. What about Thunberg's allies? The climate movement is now facing a potential schism. This is my favorite part. The German chapter of Fridays for Future has distanced itself from the international movement, with Luisa Neubauer, the group's most prominent member in the country, telling Der Spiegel in an interview that the loss of trust is immense. It's okay. So, get that. Read that again. It's not that the whole movement of Fridays for Future has distanced itself from Thunberg. It's that the German chapter has distanced itself from the entire rest of the movement, which is cool with this because most people feel this way. And see, that is proof that that she betrayed the climate movement. Because there's this idea, and fucking, non-Jewish Germans, the ones with, Nazi background, Nazi grandparents and shit. Hey, Riveroon. They believe this stuff. They actually genuinely, I joke about it in German. I joke, I say, die größten Antisemitismus bekämpfer aller Zeiten. And these motherfuckers, they actually seriously believe that if Germany stands alone on something, that's because the rest of the world is wrong. Oh, well, it's still that time. We're looking. Today's top nominee for the JabroniCon keynote speaker is the country of Germany. They actually believe that when the rest of the world is saying, yeah, I don't see what's wrong with what she said, and Germany's like, oh, das ist unverschämt, das war ein Befehl, der Angriffssteiner war ein Befehl. They think that Germany's the one who's right. Like, with their history, there has literally never been a time when Germany was alone and on the right side of history. When Germany's been on the right side of history, it was in good company. When Germany has been alone on something, they're very convinced that they're on the right side of history, but they're actually equally not. But does this mean the end of the climate movement, they ask? The fact that Germany is losing their shit over an unremarkable anti-racist statement from Greta Thunberg that has passed totally unnoticed in the rest of the world. Does this mean the end for the climate movement? That would be disastrous. See, Greta, this is your fault. Temperatures seem to reach new record highs every year, Greta. That's all because you support Palestinian rights. Wildfires again flared up around the world last summer. Greta! Like, Jesus, these fucking people. They actually... Yeah. Now many people... Okay. The war is consuming vast quantities of money, leaving less for other issues. And in Germany, voters are growing dissatisfied with their government, of which the Green Party is a member. The Green Party has, every time they've been in government, the Green Party has been horrible. It's just straight up neoliberalism. Like, literally, they stand for nothing. They're like the Lib Dems in Britain. All they stand for is getting a couple of cabinet posts. They don't give a shit what they have to do in order to get them. And the people who actually still vote Green... They're cool with that. They don't really care. It's just a careerist thing. Meanwhile, radical groups of climate activists like Extinction Rebellion and Last Generation have infuriated large swaths of the population with their mutilation of landmarks and traffic blocking stunts. They have more emotive language for literally everything except murdering thousands of Palestinians. Their reputation is also rubbed off to a certain extent on the more moderate Fridays for Future movement. And now many people, particularly in Germany, have lost a climate role model in Greta Thunberg. German writer Sven Hillenkamp, who has been living in Stockholm for many years and is also active in the climate movement, and having been outside of Germany, knows perfectly well that what she said is totally unremarkable outside of Germany, but won't say so because he wants to work for German media, told Der Spiegel that elements of the Fridays for Future movement have become ideological. Wow. They have an organized way of looking at the world. He says it has slowly become a left-wing radical autonomist movement just without the violence. The chants that Thunberg has been using more often during her speech, says Hillenkamp, have served to almost completely mask her extraordinary speaking ability, which is what this is all about. I mean, the climate, who gives a shit? This is about showcasing her speaking ability. Does that mean that Thunberg has been radicalized? Yes, absolutely, says Hillenkamp. The case of Greta Thunberg is also symbolic of a further divide. You mean the divide between, like, leftists in Germany with their shitty-ass takes and, like, leftists everywhere else? With other shitty takes, just to be clear, but certain takes they managed to avoid. That Thunberg is on the left side of the political spectrum, and a fissure has suddenly opened up in the global left. Left-wing Israelis and leftist Jews feel as if they have been betrayed by their political allies around the world. Where? Like, these people have never met a Jew in their lives. Left-wing Israelis and leftist Jews are in the fucking protests that they're talking about. In Germany, like leftist Jews in Germany were getting the shit kicked out of them by the cops for trying to have a protest against the genocide in Berlin. In an emotional essay in the influential German daily Süddeutsche Zeitung, French-Israeli sociologist Eva Illouz, notice they've just kind of skipped over explaining, like, they didn't interview any left-wing Israelis and leftist Jews, because if they did, I mean, if they did, everyone was like, yeah, I don't see what the problem with what she said is. What she said is just totally right. I would have said the same fucking thing. Eva Illouz accused the international left wing of having shamelessly left the Jews in Israel in the lurch. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, did you get the link, or did you, I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. I'm gonna go back to more conventional JabroniCon fare now. But, I mean, just here's the link again. If you want to read this, just pure German cringe, deutscher Fremdschämjournalismus, then you have it right here. I'm so glad they wrote this in English. I can finally show people who don't speak German what, like, any, like, anti-racist, anti-fascist activist has to deal with. Yeah, they, like, literally wrote that monuments were mutilated. And, when this fucking Dutch guy stormed the stage and tried to take the microphone out of her hands, they write that she was strangely condescending after he said, "I came here for a climate protest, not a political statement." Like, how can you not be... How is it even strange to be condescending about that? But, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's stuff for the whole family in that article. That is what any, like, fucking leftist Jews have been complaining about this shit in Germany all the time. Which is why it's so hilarious when they say, like, Jewish leftists feel left in the lurch by these movements. It's like, no, motherfucker. We feel completely invisibilized by your fucking shitty right-wing, like, Zionist journalism. Like, but I've got something to start out. Shen Yun reviews. These are short, but they are not sweet. For anyone who doesn't know, Shen Yun is a propaganda event for the Falun Gong cult, who are a homophobic, anti-science, anti-Semitic cult who are very closely associated with Donald Trump, and a lot of fashy people. And so their cult has these dance events. And their propaganda, their advertising is just fucking wild.
I thought they were
Okay, that's very quiet. Let me turn that up.
I thought they were spectacular. First of all, the athleticism is just really, I mean, I know how hard it is to do some of the things that they did. So I'm in awe of just the technical brilliance, but they express an inner beauty as well.
Yeah, one of the things that the Shen Yun performances feature is a tsunami with Karl Marx on it. That the cult leader Li Hongzhi is able to bust up with one hand.
An inner light, the inner masculinity, when the men are there, and the femininity, and
Wow, so they're like fucking gender normative and stuff. That's so exciting.
women, but also an indomitability. They weren't just pretty and soft, although they were that too. And regardless of what faith tradition you follow, there are truths that are universal.
This is a totally normal kind of review to be getting from a fucking dance show.
Into the particularities, and I love the affirmation. There is spiritual truth. There is God. There is morality, and it matters. I would say.
Oh, we get some pictorial material, please. Let's see the Marx tsunami. I've been wanting to see this for ages.
Is soul filling and eye popping.
So it fills your soul so much that your eyes start bugging out, apparently.
And it's an overwhelming of the senses, but also of the heart. It fills the heart.
Douglas Beechwood, owner of Terra Media, bought some of the last available tickets to see Shinyu Performing Arts in Colorado Springs. He brought
Colorado Springs, home to all sorts of fashy groups.
along 3 generations, his mother, brother, and son.
I'm so inspired by this idea that a theater show can be not just entertainment, not just something to fill your day with, but a way to commune in a spiritual way. And I think we did. I mean,
I thought these people would be against communes, spiritual or otherwise.
was opened in a way
What the hell does it mean that the compassion was opened in a way?
think could happen in a public performance. So my gratitude to the producers, the performers, all the artists and minds and hearts involved. I'm so blown away by the amazing impact of art and...
Does it mean to sound like this was badly translated? This does not sound like a native English speaker would talk this way. This is like somebody like Goog transed it.
Beauty and the ability to transform people's hearts and minds. I think this is the antidote and the way to communicate what needs to change in China.
100% more like sort of cultic ballet performances.
Among Shenyun's performances are stories about the atrocities the Chinese Communist Party commits to this day.
I'm not afraid to say that. We need to stand up for what's right, and art...
Wow, that's a... He actually said it. He said it. That he's just going out on a limb there. We have to stand up for what's right. And art and truth and beauty. See, I mean... You'll never hear anyone say that we need to stand up for what's right. And art and truth and beauty. Everyone is like, no, we gotta stand up for what's wrong.
Art and truth and beauty, and the fact that we are all reincarnate spirits living in a world that we create and manifest its beauty. I'm so grateful.
Being a spiritual person, Beechwood was further grateful for the divine aspects of the performance.
The soul message is so true. We are infinite spirits. We reincarnate many lifetimes.
How's the volume now?
Experience soulmates meet again. This is ancient wisdom. This is Taoist wisdom. This is the wisdom of all the ancient lineages.
All the ancient lineages.
And Shen Yun has done such an incredible job of presenting that in the modern world.
I mean, this totally does not sound like a cult at all. I mean, it's the wisdom of the ancient lineages.
If you're not a robot.
Okay. So, I thought we'd just start out with
Beechwood,
that.
Owner of
I thought they...
Okay, just a little appetizer there. So, okay. Let me just take those off, because this is already an unwieldy playlist. So, one of the things that I put on here to look at was, it turns out to be upcoming, so that's no good. We've got white nationalist streamer Destiny coming to Xanderhol's defense. We've got Xanderhol bravely telling us that Osama bin Laden is not our ally. I mean, I don't think he's anyone's ally at this point since he's fucking dead. And then we got Pim Tool, retired colonel, says 2024 election will not happen. The USA is in massive collapse civil war. And we've got you can help make our conference successful. Here's how from Caleb Muppet. Any one of those things, strike your fancy? Capture your fancy, whatever things do to one's fancy. Yeah, there's nothing to be done about that, really. So, let me see. Make this adjustment. That is because I don't like using headphones because it causes all kinds of other problems. So you're getting a little bit of my speaker, but I've made some adjustments, so you probably won't be getting that now. So, any preferences, chat, on the various options we've got in here? We've got Xander Hole dunks on Osama bin Laden. We've got Destiny comes to defense of guy who's totally supposed to be not a fascist, but Destiny likes him, so, I mean, your mileage may vary. Feel free to speak up, chat, if you got any preferences. Meanwhile, let me just say, if you enjoy the stream, please consider supporting the stream. It helps me continue all my various projects by helping me cover my expenses. No, it's a rough time for everybody, so nobody should feel bad if they can't or anything like that, but if you can and you want to, it is very much appreciated. And, I mean, part of me, I'm torn here between Osama bin Laden is not your ally, the hottest hot take of 2001. Oh, well, I have to go get another Oh, yeah, no, wait, I have that other Caleb. Let's do it. You can help make our conference successful. We're doing it.
Hey there.
Fuck off. Well, this is a relatively short one once we get past... Yeah, I know, this and a whole title is absolutely delightful. Hello, I'm not me anymore. Do I know you by another name by any chance? Or are you new here completely?
I'd like to meet you.
I
People
don't.
ask me what my favorite part of the job is.
It's the genocide.
Look.
Here we go. Ooh, it must be Casual Fridays. He's got a t-shirt on.
At the end of the day, everything that happens...
How's the audio now?
Every day, another person that agrees with me decides they have to denounce me on social media for clout.
Yeah, maybe that's because you do stuff that sucks. Maybe it's because they don't agree with you, actually. Oh, hey, Reckless.
And that just reinforces in my mind what I've been telling you all for the past 3-4 months, which is that if you're part of this community, we got to focus on this.
Yeah, this is the conference, apparently. And one thing to remember, I mean, when the people blew the whistle, the former members of CPI Mark I, what they talked about is how there is all this rehearsing of what to do when Caleb Boffin enters the room so that it appears that people are so fucking excited to see this guy. You're supposed to, like, you practice, when to laugh at his, very clearly marked jokes, when to, how to applaud and shit.
We need
not at all
Portland to be a
cult-like.
success. And we need it to be a success, not because we got some big name streamer to show up, not because
because you've kind of burnt those bridges.
Got some celebrity to be there, not because we got a boost on one of the big... No, we need it to be a success because we knocked on the doors in Oregon to make it happen. We needed...
Oh, Portland! I got some comrades who need to know that this shit's going down there.
To be a success... We need it to be a success because people who never have heard this message showed up and loved what they heard. We need this to be a success.
Because it's my entire source of income. I can't keep living off my wife forever.
because people who have never heard the kind of things that we said came and loved what they heard and joined the organization. We need this to be a success that we make by ourselves. We cannot count on any of these internet grifters to promote us, or any
Yeah, we've gotta do our own grifting.
of these boomer groups to promote us.
This motherfucker's calling people boomers. He is like the most boomer motherfucker ever to be, I think. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but like it is so weird because I'm pretty sure that he was born in the 90s. And yet, so much, his entire fucking aesthetic, his entire way of talking to people, everything seems imported from about, like, 1962.
We can't count on them.
What fucking boomer groups was he talking to, anyway?
We have to do it ourselves. It is beyond me why people can't just get along. Why people
Oh,
don't.
God. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because people have a certain objection to Nazbols, for example. And of course, I mean, the thing is, what's happening is that the Nazbol space is getting crowded. You have multiple massive egos. You've got Hinks and Jackal, you got Haz's weird ass, you have Caleb Muppet, and there's only so many people who are going to... There are only so many people who are going to resonate with this fake-ass, fashcom bullshit, and the world's just not big enough for all of them, so of course there's going to be a fucking conflict.
Don't realize that unifying whoever they can to stop the war is the urgent necessity of our time.
Which war? They're kind of a couple going on that the U.S. is directly involved in.
It's beyond me. And
Although he's already been made very clear that he's not talking about the U.S. war against trans people. He's kind of cool with the U.S. war against trans people. He's not trying to stop that one.
Infuriates me to no end.
That was the whole thing? That's where it ends? Okay, we're gonna find out about whether Osama bin Laden is our ally. Xanderhol's not at all swastikacious logo.
So this is possibly the most online left story I've ever covered.
I don't know. Okay, chat, just in case you missed this. What happened was recently, the Guardian decided to take down a letter that they had published from Osama bin Laden from, like, over 20 years ago. Because some people in the US had read it, and they had found that actually... I have not read it, so I don't know what was in it. But looking at what was going on, they thought that actually some of the things that he said might have actually not been entirely wrong or something like that. I don't know what the letter said. I have not engaged on that level. But so Xanderhol has decided to take one of those wonderful, strong, principled stances that he's known for and tell us that he's not on Team Osama bin Laden.
I'm pretty sure up until today, this might have actually been a meme online. Like an over-exaggerated meme about how politically inept a lot of tankies and woke scolds and young baby lefties on TikTok.
Woke scolds. I mean, this is fucking Ben Shapiro bullshit. It actually sort of fits that... I mean, the term that Ben Shapiro originated to just kind of insult people who are, like, against racism and transphobia and other things that he's for. I mean, it actually is a better term to describe people like Ben Shapiro who scold people for being against racism, transphobia, and all those other things that that Ben Shapiro is for.
Talk and what have you will be, and how willing they are to jump on board with radical positions without any forethought whatsoever. I'm pretty sure this was an example of a joke in that realm, alright? Osama bin Laden letter goes viral on TikTok. Gen Z has discovered a letter that has recently surfaced from bin Laden, Osama bin Laden, who has been quite long dead now, that was titled A Letter to America. And I guess it is the first...
Let me just see if I can find this thing. Okay. Oh, well, the CIA website has it on there. Oh, it's some seriously anti-Semitic shit. Okay, just starting off.
Time many of these people have heard like a narrative about American foreign policy and politics that isn't the nonsense you hear peddled in a lot of like schools and
certain streams by certain dickheads who used to be Nazis and have decided to make their entire living off of the fact that they used to be Nazis, despite the fact that that does not actually suggest that maybe they shouldn't be the ones teaching anyone how to do politics. I'm not me anymore, says Tank is just a word these people throw around again, and anyone who is marginally Marxist now. These guys have to be in the alphabet soup or something like that. I mean, yeah, it's like liberals, when they get hold of any term, fuck it up. Because that used to specifically mean, that referred to a split, actually, within the Communist Party in Britain, between people who supported the Soviet decision to send, tank columns to Hungary, and the ones who didn't. And in that sense, it has a certain utility. But now it's like, if you just say, actually, maybe the U.S. shouldn't be starving people in Venezuela to death, they'll call you a tanky. You know, if you, it's fascinating because actually a lot of the time that you get called that for like opposing tanks.
Media, and it blew their minds so much. Many of them are just unironically pro bin Laden now.
Which really does tell you something about the society we're in, that people, that bin Laden immediately seems like an improvement over just how shit it is. Although considering that, I mean, he is not subtle. This, I'm not gonna read the thing because it is actually like some straight up anti-Semitic shit right from the outset. I have to say, I would wonder if maybe some of the people sharing this stuff aren't fash. Because it's not subtle anti-Semitism, it's not dog whistles, he just comes out and says, like, Jewish control of capital. You know, no, so I would not be surprised if some of the people who have been promoting this shit are just straight up Nazis.
Just straight up. And many of them are unironically like, yeah, no, okay, 9/11 was good. Possibly the biggest internet lefty moment of this century. I haven't looked too deep into this, but what I've seen...
Yeah, well, I'm shocked. I mean, he's known for his deep dives, after all. I mean, some of them are entire centimeters deep.
A lot of are tweets that that are screenshots of TikToks of these like 20-something-year-old women who've taken who have like it's like a picture of them folding laundry or something, and it's captioned "My face after finishing my read of Letter to America," and it's them looking like their lives have changed and their entire perspective has changed. And it's like,
and this leads them to fold laundry? I didn't, yeah, I mean, there are other things in here, and I mean, this is the thing. It's like, what are they actually finding? Because, like he says, an observer of the policies of the new administration realizes that the change is tactical and not strategic. And that's not, I mean, that's fairly accurate. When was this written? Who was the new president? When was this thing written? Is this 2016? That doesn't sound right.
really?
2003, okay.
A letter from Osama bin Laden is what radicalized you? Deeply disappointed in my generation. Truly.
Like, these are the people. Okay, yeah, that sucks. That's kind of fucked up. That tells you a lot about the environment. That those are like the radicalizing ideas and currents that they are exposed to. You know, it says that a lot of people who are not being reached, although I do really have to wonder if some, I mean, because it just like the second paragraph starts out talking about Jewish control of capital and shit. So, I mean, like, this is going to skew heavily anti-Semitic, like people who already have a problem with Jews. But, I mean, like, out of all of the things that are fucked up involving people right now, I really do not think this rate's very high. I mean, there are people who are condemning Jewish protesters for having held a candlelight vigil outside the Democratic National Committee in D.C., a crime for which they were thoroughly beaten by the DC cops who let neo-Nazis into the Capitol. So this shit doesn't even rate.
Truly. Let's take a look at this news article on it. Or, not article, but news story. This video. Osama bin Laden letter goes viral.
And the TikTok videos related to this are being
Well, like, how do we know that these people are leftists that are doing this? Is the question that immediately... Yeah, I mean, they're just fucking people on TikTok. People on...
either have been or are being taken down. The discussion continues, though, and we have with us Colby Hall right now, found in the...
Yeah, apparently Osama bin Laden liked watching anime and playing video games. I don't know how much of that is a meme, but I've seen a lot of people saying that as if it's like 100% serious. And I choose to believe it. I choose to believe that he was a weeb who played video games and was a neat.
Wow, I mean, this is just such a serious discussion here.
He was also a Hassan fan.
Editor of Media, News Nation contributor.
You win chat today,
so
roundabout.
again, TikTok, I guess, says it's taking some actions. It's going to remove some of this the content as it finds it.
Well, could we see some of these fucking videos? Because I'd be interested to know what bit of this thing resonated.
Scrub it. Okay.
I mean,
that's the latest. That said, I mean, I think we're all kind of taken aback, those of us of a certain age at least, when we saw this today. I mean, what was your, first of all, your reaction, more or less?
He was a lolicon too. Lots of weebs are. I'm less concerned with the fact that he was a lolicon and more...
Yeah, it is so fitting that that would be what he would be less concerned with, since he is friends with Vosh.
Concerned with the fact that he almost certainly had underage wives and mistresses.
Analysis.
And what a tragic and disgraceful turn of events that You have
This is the tragic and disgraceful turn of events right now. The fucking people on TikTok not say the fact that there is a fucking genocide going on, and you have Joe Biden like coming in his pants over the destruction of hospitals, and just
sort of
I mean, this is clearly the worst thing going on today. The fucking people on TikTok.
I see this less as a TikTok problem, more as an American youth culture problem. And by the way, not all American
Yeah.
youths are doing this.
No
but
shit.
Not all American youths are supporting Osama bin Laden. I'm so glad we have this expert on here to explain that not all American youths are supporting Osama bin Laden.
People would read this copy that was flatly anti-American and anti-Semitic and find empathy with the words of Osama bin Laden, who's responsible for the death of nearly 3,000 innocent Americans.
Yeah, a number that really, when the U.S. and Israel and Germany are currently responsible, we don't actually fucking know at this point how many deaths they're responsible for in Gaza. We don't know, because Al Shifa Hospital, you know, the one where we're supposed to believe they were hiding AK-47s in the MRI room. You know, the one that they brought the boxes marked in big letters saying, in English, saying medical supplies into, that were so light that they were carrying them on like one finger. Yeah, that was where the Ministry of Health operated out of. They were the people compiling and reporting fatalities. So they have been completely shut down. Their records are in the hands of the enemy. We have absolutely no fucking idea exactly how many people have been murdered since that happened. But what we do know is that the last figures that we had were roughly 4 9/11s.
Is really sort of pathetic and sad, and it shows how far we've gone. Not only did they find sympathy, but they decided to record themselves and amplify how impressed they were just for clicks. And you know, TikTok has addressed it.
I like how this mainstream news organization is extra mad about how people are like the one thing that might have come. I haven't read this, so I'm not going to like say it's good or bad. As far as like the takes in it or the claims made in it.
Wait a second. He's not going to express a view on Osama bin Laden's takes? Like, then what the fuck's the point of this?
Writing in it, but
I mean, what's the point of saying Osama bin Laden's not your ally if you're not going to talk about his takes? Because the thing is, it's not like Osama bin Laden is going to help you out on some action. The motherfucker's dead, right? He's not going to come no matter how much you call him. The only way it makes sense to speak of him as an ally or not an ally is the quality of his takes. And you're not going to talk about the quality of his takes, which fucking suck, incidentally, just to be clear. Like, then what's the point of you?
my guess is there's some probably decent takes on the like arguably decent takes on the Israel-Palestine thing.
Let me just see. Like, this motherfucker is not... He's not reading the thing. He's just gonna say this. Okay, let me see. Oh, wait a second. This is definitely later than 2003 because it's refers to Obama as president. Let me see. Does it say anything? Palestine has been under occupation for decades, and none of your presidents talked about it until after September 11th. If you want, okay. Okay, so You have to implement a roadmap that returns the Palestinian land to us. Note that this is bin Laden, who is not Palestinian. He is Saudi. All of it. Yeah, okay. Not the worst thing that he says in the thing. Yeah, not great by any means. Like, I mean, declaring it Palestine just an Islamic land when, there are Palestinian Jews and Christians living there who have way more right to say anything about what goes on in Palestine than a motherfucker from Saudi Arabia.
I doubt he's arguing for a two-state solution, but I imagine he just, like, lists a bunch of war crimes and awful things that Israel has done to them.
No, wait, is Xander Hall saying that the two-state solution is what he's going for?
Palestinians, and the U.S.'s support of Palestine is probably the main, like, focus, and if it's just that, then, like, yeah, he talks about Jews a lot. Okay, so is it actually, like, full of anti-Semitism? And
you motherfucker, you didn't even look at the thing. You got it on screen right now. And it's legible to me, looking at, a screen, the stream of a stream here. Why don't you take a minute to read the thing you're talking about, Xanderhole?
That wouldn't surprise me. Vosh has read it. It's just a few correct points that come from wildly incorrect basis. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it's about what I'd expect. What I'm imagining is that there's like one or two pretty solid arguments about U.S. foreign policy and like Israel and Palestine stuff, surrounded by insane ramblings and radicalizing nonsense.
I like how he uniformly uses the word radicalizing like that's a bad thing. Because he's a fucking lib.
And it is a really bad thing that so many Gen Zers read that and were like, yo!
But we haven't actually seen any evidence of these Gen Zers being like, yo! I hear people talking about these, like, TikTokers saying that. I've yet to hear anyone who's saying that. Show me one of them, show me what they're saying. Ah, yes, like on your werde zien.
Osama bin Laden base, bro.
They've taken them down. I don't think that this is a Chinese Communist Party designed to split up America. I do think that there's way too many young Americans that don't understand the horrors of 9/11.
Let's talk.
Well, maybe it's kind of the horrors of 9/11 at this point have been so comprehensively overtaken by the horrors since that, I mean, when we don't bat an eye about like nearly 2 million people being preventably killed by U.S. COVID policy. We don't talk about we don't bat an eye. That's just a thing that that's just a thing that the government does. Where we watch fucking politicians pretend to be outraged at the idea that anyone would look at Gaza and say maybe stop murdering huge numbers of people every day. Actually, see, it's like, yeah, I just don't think that it is possible to look at it with quite the same horror when you've seen the horrors that have followed it. And I should note, I mean, I was there. I remember it. I was woken up. My mother rang me on the phone, said, turn on the fucking news. I was there for the whole thing. Actually, the aftermath was already way scarier because it was just straight up like Pinochet style bullshit, just being talked on the television the whole time. But yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. The age.
I mean, like it is really hard to maybe tell people who. If you're somebody who is not even acknowledging what an absolute horror the situation in Gaza is, then it is probably hard to convince Gen Zers that you have a good take on how horrible fucking 9/11 was.
in general, even with the war that's going on now, is a big story about what's happening with all the protests and how old people are protesting the college campuses and all the rest. We have a pie chart, I think, that'll show.
Wait, even with the war, you mean the one that killed, you know, a 9/11's worth of people within the first week?
The age of
that has actually killed, just in children alone. Children alone has killed 2 9/11's worth.
You know, people and how it relates to 9/11. This is important, I think. You know, I'm 46, so I was 24 on September 11th of 2001. I was a local radio reporter at the time. I covered 9/11. I covered the attacks, the aftermath. I have a certain perspective on it. You have a certain perspective on it.
Wait a second. What do you mean, likely too young to remember? This is not a hard thing. Oh, well, I guess, I mean, they're including people who are old enough to have been alive when it happened, I guess.
Many will say this is a bad thing. This is inarguably a good thing. More people getting into voting age that don't remember 9/11 is objectively good.
And no, I really don't think it is. I mean, because the thing is, you have all these liberals in particular romanticizing the so-called post-9/11 spirit, and people who are not old enough to remember what an absolute horror the weeks after 9/11 were. The absolute just fucking terrifying experience of this constant propaganda interspersed with people talking about, you know, we need to be able to torture folks. We need to work with unsavory characters, like more unsavory than the usual people the United States fucking works with. You know, maybe we need to take a break from having human rights and shit. And, you know, and like 2,000 Muslim men were just made to disappear and tortured for several weeks on bogus material witness warrants. And, yeah, I mean, so people who aren't old enough to remember why actually the post-9/11 spirit was horrifying, I mean, that does not strike me as a great thing.
9/11, as horrible of a tragedy as it was
How old is fucking Xanderhole
by
anyway?
the worst people in American politics.
It's still being used by the worst people, though. It's being used more effectively now.
And still some of the worst anti-freedom policies of all time. I'm sorry. Like you guys know, the creation of the Department of Homeland Security was because of 9/11. Like
Not exactly. I mean, that was the excuse, but the thing is, the idea of having a Department of Homeland Security, up to and including the name, was already that was already a plan. It was just sort of waiting for an occasion.
What was it? The act that like super invaded a shit ton of our fucking privacy?
Yeah, the USA Patriot Act, motherfucker. Like,
what was it called?
Which is still, I mean, we're still dealing with that shit.
Called the Patriot Act? I remembered on my own. Nice. Yeah, the Patriot Act, TSA, is because of 9/11. These all came about because like right-wing psychos.
And not just, you know, not just people that fucking Xanderhole would call right-wing psychos, ableism aside. I mean, like, the number, you could count the people who voted against that shit on one hand. They were, like, the same way there are only, like, you could fit the people who are against the genocide in Gaza, who are also in Congress, in a single passenger lift. You could fit the people who voted for the human rights horror show that is the Patriot Act in a passenger lift. 1999. Okay, yeah, so he doesn't remember 9/11. He has absolutely no recollection of this. No wonder he doesn't remember the Patriot Act.
Wanted to clamp down on our freedoms, and they used 9/11 as an excuse. And people's fear of 9/11 is what garnered the support for these people that instilled these policies. People hitting voting age that don't even remember 9/11 is a good thing. Trust me.
I don't.
A lot of people.
Thank you.
They're able to look at it objectively.
No, except not really, because it's not like there's no propaganda around 9/11 now. It is still being exploited. It is still accepted now. It's like you see like people like Paul Krugman and other like fucking liberals being like, it's really pity we can't rally around together, like in the spirit of post 9/11, and saying stuff like, even after 9/11, George Bush wasn't racist or anything. It's like,
maybe they lost family to it. I know people who lost family to 9/11, actually. Well, I don't currently know them, but I've known people who lost family 9/11. But it's a tragedy that exists in recent history, but it is not something that they have been, in their lifetime, filled with propaganda and fear-mongering over.
Yeah, but they also don't remember what a just horrible shit show those weeks were. So when somebody says, yeah, that was a great time, a time of, unity and stuff, I would like to think that they've heard enough and read enough that they realize what bullshit that is, but I can't say with any certainty.
For the most part.
Goedendag.
Obviously, as more time passes, this phenomena will become even more obvious. But yeah, I was 16 when 9/11 happened. It can't be understated just how much America lost its damn mind after it happened. Do you know how dangerous it must have been to be like publicly, openly Muslim?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, not just Muslim, just being mistaken for Muslim. Like, a lot of Sikhs got fucking murdered in those days, and the media would say, oh, it was a tragic case of mistaken identity. It would have been okay if he'd just been a Muslim, but he was a Sikh, so you're not allowed to that's not a free space. You're not allowed to murder Sikhs. It's a real tragedy that they got that one mixed up. It was deeply fucked up.
In America, the day after 9/11, the danger was coming from the people. Those same people are being replaced by newer generations who weren't around for that fear-mongering.
No, the danger was very much coming from the state. There was massive... See, he isn't old enough to remember this shit either. The danger was very much coming from this constant drumbeat of propaganda designed to justify things like making Muslims disappear. Like the war on Palestinian charities, a lot of really important Muslim charities just got completely shut down from one day to the next because the Bush administration decided that, if you were supplying money to Palestinians, then that was terrorism, and so they threw a whole bunch of charity executives in prison and stole all their money and shit. It was not just coming from below. There was a lot of people from below who were actually warning against the direction things were going in from the start. I was one of them. I remember this very well. I was writing about it at the time.
That hatred and that fear and that bigotry. My grandma took off her scarf because she was scared. Doesn't surprise me. I'd be afraid of a hate crime in that situation too. Oh yeah, Islamophobia fucking exploded? Of course it did. Yeah.
After 9/11, and as you said, not all of them have this perspective where they would look at it and take this course of action, but it does bring up this wider question of what's going on.
Take what course of
right
action?
Now with young people and how they feel about their own country. We see it in the protests too. What is it? What's going on here with age?
Well, what we're seeing in the protests is that people actually... It's not like back in the sort of 80s and 90s when you didn't really... where you only had a couple of sources that you could look at in real time, and if they told you everything was cool in Gaza, you might have your doubts, but you didn't actually have the fucking receipts. These days, you get it in real time. And you watch, motherfuckers like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and fuck Schumer and all these disgusting pricks, Bernie Sanders, too. like saying, "Oh yeah, but I mean, if we stop killing the Palestinians, some of them are Hamas, you know, so that would be doing a favor to Hamas to leave Palestinians alive, because they're Palestinians too, you see." I did not do a very good Bernie Sanders accent there. Not very good at all. But I mean, and so of course people are having like feelings about the country that claims to be theirs. When you're watching like fucking people's homes and hospitals and you know, like just being destroyed, entire neighborhoods flattened, and then you flip the channel and it's Joe Biden talking about what a wonderful thing this is to be doing. But it is nearly 1 in the morning, so it is time for me to wrap up. Thank you to everyone who's joined. It's great to see you. I will be back tomorrow night at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. And let me just say, if you'd like to keep in touch in between streams, here is the link to join my Discord. Yeah. And also, if you enjoy the stream, please consider supporting the stream with a tip. It helps me continue to make this content by helping me cover my expenses. Thank you so much. Have a good night, and